Hi, class. I just finished reading your essays, the drama essays, and I'm sending them back to you with grades on them. And there's a few things that I want to talk about, and as we are heading for the end of the semester and our research paper, and some things that I've noticed in your papers. And this is just an overall observation. First of all of you who use biographical information, that's the author's biography. If you use biographical information of an author, you need to cite that in the in-text citation as well as in the works cited page. Additionally, with the biography, you please do not use like so and so was born in 1894 on December 12th, giving all these specific dates, because that's just not something that's necessary to any of the papers in literature. But if there's parts about the author's biography that you want to use in relation to the story or what you're writing about, and you want to make that connection, then that biography is fine. But if it's not related to the information that's being expected of you to write about, then talking about where the author was born, where the author died, where the author lived is not necessary to the information in the assignment. And you're not a biographical writer. So please keep that in mind, because a lot of you started off your papers with the drama essay giving a paragraph or two about the author's biography. Please don't do that for this next paper that you're going to write on the bluest eye, and starting it with Toni Morrison's biography. So you want to avoid that. If the biography is important to the progression of what you're going to be writing about, and you want to talk about the biography and you've done research on it, then you can incorporate that. But if you do, please make sure that you cite it. Now, in your rules for writers, there's a whole section on writing papers in the MLA format, and I have this on my screen over here. So I'm going to go back out, and it's on page 391. Writing papers in MLA style. So some of you may not know how to format a sample paper, format an MLA paper. So there's a sample paper for you to take a look at in Rules for Writers. And a lot of you have already taken English 1A, so you've already been exposed to this. But this is what a works cited page looks like, and this is a sample paper with using in-text citations. If you have any particular questions, feel free to send me an email. But this is what an MLA paper looks like. If you want to know how to format it, there's a few things. Some of you are still having trouble putting together a thesis. So there's a whole section on how to put together a thesis in Rules for Writers that you can take a look at. And it's in chapter 53, working from a thesis, and how to organize your ideas and introduce your ideas for your introduction for your thesis. So some of you, I've put in comments that you don't have a strong thesis. I would highly suggest that you go over these chapters and you look at them, especially when we're getting ready to talk about the research paper, and you're going to be writing a research paper. And I'm going to be sending out another email after this later this week, because the research paper, you're going to do some peer reviews. So you might want to use these chapters to help do the peer reviews and also to write your papers. So I highly suggest that you go back and you look at this chapter on writing papers in MLA style, because MLA is the format that's required of you. So some of you are not sure what you're doing with MLA. So please go back and read this chapter. There's also a chapter on page 356 on research and how to evaluate sources for your research paper, gathering information and managing information and taking notes for your research paper. So that's in chapters 50, 51, and 52 in Rules for Writers. I am expecting that you have had the assignment of writing a research paper prior to taking this course, and that you are familiar with these ideas. But if you haven't taken English 1A in a long time, and this is a refresher course back to you to college, and you're taking English 1B, please make sure before you start working on your research paper to go and look through this chapter and take notes. Now, I don't assign any particular pages because I want you to figure out what it is that you need and read those portions. So I didn't assign all of these portions. Of course, I'm not going to put it on a test, but you are supposed to know it, and you're supposed to show that you know it through writing your paper. So if you go through these chapters and you have any questions, please send me an email, and I'll be happy to take a look at that. But right now, we have one essay left, which is going to be on the bluest eye. That's going to be due this weekend. And then we're going to start with a research paper. I've opened up both of the modules so you can take a look at that, but you have to start thinking about the research paper and what you're going to be writing for the research paper. I am going to send you an email, so don't worry about that later. But before you even do that, you should prepare and know MLA format very well. And you should also be thinking about putting together your notes and your ideas for writing your research paper. So I would highly suggest that you go back and you take a look at page 356 in Rules for Writers, and also page 391. These are different research areas. And also, if you've had comments, and this is only a very small percentage of you, but if you've had comments that said run-ons, fragments, and you're not sure what they are after looking at them, you can always refer to Rules for Writers too. That's why I've required this book with this class, so that you get an idea of how to do both. Now, I did not take off a lot of points for not following MLA format so far, unless it was just so awful. I mean, not awful, I didn't mean to use that word, but unless it was just so so far from what it was required to do. In other words, if you didn't put works cited and you put citations for the works cited page, or the works cited page was not done correctly, but you had a works cited page, I didn't really take off points. I took off points if you didn't have a works cited page. I took off points if you didn't do the in-text citations. But if you did them incorrectly and didn't follow them exactly the way they should be done, I did not take off points. However, for the research paper, it is going to be a very big part of the paper to follow MLA format. So please keep that in mind. And also for this next paper that you're going to be writing on the bluest eye, I am hoping that you do not put Toni Morrison's biography in there in your paper unless her biography is an important integral part of what it is that you're writing about. And also, you want to stay away from plot summary of the story. You want to analyze it, and you want to use the plot only to support your analysis. So that's why having a really good thesis and a point that you're trying to make is very important to your paper. So for the paper that you're going to write on the bluest eye, you want to think about what point you want to make, and you want to use the story's content to support your point. And therefore, Toni Morrison's biography is not going to be an important part of that paper. Maybe some parts of it, but not other parts of it. And also, you're going to be required to use MLA format. So if you do use any portions of a biography or any other research material or quotes from the book, you do need to follow MLA format. And if you don't know how to put together the works cited page, in MLA format, there's this whole section on documenting sources. There's a section on how to do in-text citations, and there's a section on how to do the works cited page. So if you don't know how to do a works cited page for a book, you can look in the guidelines, and it will show you how to do a book, so, or whatever it is that you have. So and you just follow the format that it has. So I'm expecting that you have your rules for writers next to you while you're writing your book. While you're writing your essays and your research paper too. So if you have any questions about those, please send me an email, and have a great week.